After nearly 3 decades covering the Buffalo Bills, this guy knows what he's talking about. Welcome to Sal Speak, the place to be for hard-hitting analysis from Sal Maiorana of the Democrat and Chronicle.
Hi everybody, and welcome to DemocratandChronicle.com. I am Sal Maiorana, and I'm with Leo Roth. You're watching Facebook Live, the Sal Speak Facebook Live show. And Leo, since we last gathered in this setting, there's been quite a lot of news that went down at One Bills Drive.
Pretty boring week, Sal.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. We can go back. There's 2 major trades that took place. One went down Friday night out of nowhere. Marcel Dareus got shipped to Jacksonville. The Bills got a 6th-round draft pick in return, and the big thing there was they got rid of a lot of salary and future salary cap problems. So that was Friday. The Bills went on and beat the Oakland Raiders without Marcel on Sunday, and then with the short week, the Jets are the opponent Thursday night in New York. Brandon Beans shocked us all 3 minutes before the NFL trade deadline on Tuesday afternoon. He dealt for wide receiver Kelvin Benjamin, who he knew from his days in Carolina. The Bills gave up a 3rd and a 7th-round pick to get Benjamin. But, Leo, that's 2 big trades. One gets rid of a problem in Marcel Dareus and all that money they were going to owe him, and one could theoretically really solve a problem the Bills have had all year with lack of talented pass receivers.
Dareus is addition by subtraction. Obviously, all the fans kind of know the situation there. A player that just after he, in 2014, I mean, we thought this guy was going to the Hall of Fame. I mean, he was fantastic. I mean, how often does an interior tackle get 10 sacks? Yeah. And he was just a dominant force. Even with the, and at the time, he had some off-field issues even going into 14 there, so. And we all okay, they gave him the big money. It was, and I think Doug Whaley at the time, very kind of a controversial signing because of his off-field stuff. But I also recall at the time, I think Ndamukong Suh had kind of set a market that was, and he's this number 3 overall pick. You got to tie up this guy for the remainder of his career. Everything kind of made sense, and I'm not going to hammer Whaley for that deal. I mean, really, I put all this on Marcel Dareus. He let his general manager down.
He did.
He let his teammates down. He let himself down in the end. And I read his comments in your story about when he got to Jacksonville, just how much he was shocked and how he loved Buffalo, and it's just heartbreaking for him. But he didn't play like that. He didn't earn it. You got to, and that's big. And that's big with this new regime. They give their players a lot of respect, but respect is earned. It's a 2-way street. And Sean McDermott will talk about it with the Tyrod Taylors of the world and the Kyle Williams and Lorenzo Alexander. He starts talking about these guys. They're not his guys. Everyone says, "Oh, he's got to." No, these are Rex's guys, and he gets emotional talking about these players that he's only known for 9 months.
Right.
So,
but he didn't get emotional about Dareus.
No,
he certainly didn't.
And he's not. He doesn't have any time for a guy that's. And they gave him a pretty good chunk of time here.
They did
to turn it. So, again, I guess that's that. And again, it gets just get back to it's time to move it out. A very shrewd move. We'll get into more on Brandon Bean, but we're looking at we're looking at a young Bill Polian here.
I know the Dareus deal. We go back to that. And what really drives me nuts about it is he had a track record of being an off-the-field problem. Now, he wasn't a criminal. I mean, he wasn't, it was, substance abuse, the synthetic marijuana, the drag racing. It wasn't domestic violence or some of the things that are really serious issues. His was more on the softer, kind of goofy, immature side. But the Bills had this resume on him and knew that he is a potential risk. And then, even further, Leo, they had the right in their own locker room, Mario Williams, who they gave $100 million to, and saw that really kind of blew up in their face. So it rankles the mind that they went ahead and did this with Dareus. But Dareus is gone. He's no longer their problem. They take some cap hit, and now he's Jacksonville's problem. So he's out of the way. You fill in with Adolphus Washington got the start last week. They've got Jarrell Worthy, Cedric Thornton. Yeah, when Dareus is on his game, he can be a very, very good player. I'm not sure that any of those 3 guys could match Marcel Dareus at his best. But you know what, Leo? They might be just fine with those 3 guys rotating.
No, they're doing. Listen, nobody wants to get rid of at one time who was a star defensive tackle. No question about it. One of the top 3. But the Bills are number 3 in run defense right now. They stopped it so well.
And he's been playing half the plays. They're number 1, number 3, and he's played half the plays.
Right, and Now, Kyle Williams, again, an amazing athlete, career guy, the whole bit. You know, and I wrote after the Dareus thing, here's a guy with half the talent who's had twice the career.
Yeah.
Maybe a third of the talent, 3 times the career. I mean, he's really something, and playing like 75% of the snaps at his age. And Dareus can barely get, you know, in the 40% range. And, you know, they truly are doing that defensive tackle rotation, and it is effective, and they're all playing. Yeah. They actually got a 53-man rotation going, Sal, because
well, they do.
Another story of this season, and I'm off on a segue here, is that that's one of the stories, the big story of the year is contributions from everybody on this roster, the next man up thing. And a lot of great comments these last couple days. The players have been asked a lot about the next man up.
Well, we can stick right there. We'll get to the Kelvin Benjamin trade because they played.
All right, you want to talk about Benjamin? We can do that.
Well, no, let's talk about because they played a game in between these two trades. And in this game, as you said, we saw a lot of this next man up. It was really an impressive performance against the Raiders. You figure Jordan Poyer and E.J. Gaines were both out with injury, so they had to plug in Sharice Wright and Trey Elston, who has never started a game in the NFL, against Derek Carr, Amari Cooper, and an offense that we thought was a little more prolific than it turned out to be. Those guys stepped right in and played pretty well. Derek Carr did not. He threw for 313, but it was a very hollow 313. That wasn't a big deal at all. Those guys stepped in. Andre Holmes, who had done nothing all year, he had 2 of the biggest plays in the game, the touchdown catch and the long reception that set up a touchdown. He came out of nowhere. Former Raider steps up in a big spot. Matt Milano is playing for Ramon Humber. He may be playing forever for Ramon Humber if he keeps this up. Has the big fumble return for the touchdown. All these guys, and then you see a guy like Brandon Tate makes that great play, and the sideline goes crazy like it was a high school game because here's a guy that you don't expect that from. Made a huge play to convert a 2nd and 20, helped them on a scoring drive. This is what they're getting. The Bills are getting these contributions from the guys you would never think of, and it's really been impressive to watch.
Yeah, I got a story going for tomorrow, Sal, on McDermott, just the McDermott frenzy going on. And, you know, he's a guy that, you know, he didn't invent the term, the process. He didn't invent next man up.
No, but he should patent it right now.
He should, and he ought to get that absolutely trademarked. You know, he didn't invent the idea of playing hard, disciplined, tough football. None of these buzzwords and philosophies and all that. What he has done, though, is what I believe a lot of coaches don't achieve, is that he's actually gotten a group of players on this team to really honestly believe in it, believe in him, believe in everything that he's got going on. And it's not a bunch of, you know, you just don't roll your eyes like, oh my God, what's this guy talking about? And let's face it, I know, you know, coaching is a very delicate thing. It can go quickly the other way on you if things aren't working. And let's face it, some of the things that Sean has done are kind of things that reminiscent of what a high school coach might do. You know, the little motivational words he tapes around the locker room, and you know, playoff caliber, and the process, and putting jars of dirt in their locker room to defend their home field.
He got famous for that this week.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, but these things, and face it, if you don't get the takeaway, the bounce, the right call, you don't win. And if you don't win, and they're 2-5,
yeah, we're having a different conversation.
Now we're having a different conversation. Like,
now it's all rah-rah baloney.
It's like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
But you know what? When it's working and you capture it and you ride it, he's really got something going on here, and it's a lot of fun going into tomorrow night's game on national TV. You know, the NFL Network. People are going to see what all the fuss is about. It's really, you know, I just tell everybody, hey, I mean, we've been tailing it too. The biggest, you know, the media, that he's knocking the cynic out of all of us, is just, hey, live in the moment, enjoy it, and ride it, because this really is is what coaches talk about, and when you see it happening, I mean, hey, let's face it, nobody was a bigger rah-rah guy than Rex Ryan. He really was, and you wanted to believe in him so badly, but everything he did, whether it was X's and O's or personnel decisions or game time, it just didn't work.
I got a lot of crap last year from Twitter and everybody else for calling out Rex for the night that he went to the World Series in Cleveland. The Bills were, I think, on a long week, a long week, right?
Put him on a bus.
There was an extra time period there, and he goes down to Cleveland and brought some coaches with him. And, you know, I understand these guys have lives, and Rex certainly had a big life outside of football, but that's the kind of thing that Sean McDermott or Bill Belichick or a lot of other NFL coaches would never have dreamed of doing. And people say, well, the guy's got to have a life. I understand that, but Rex was making $5 million a year for the Buffalo Bills to coach this team, and I would think from September to December he could keep the focus right there. Even though they had some extra time that week on the bye, either it was the bye or they had a Thursday game that they had more time. Whatever it was, you just can't do that. And Sean McDermott, I can guarantee you, if it was the Cubs and Indians, Game 7 this year, there's no way he's going down there. And that's one of the things I think we're seeing that's different, I think that's about Sean. Focused guy.
Right, and that's the whole, we bust his chops on the focus thing, but that's what he's talking about. It's never, every coach comes in and you set the philosophy, you set the routines, the daily routines, and you never veer from what you've put in place.
Right.
This is in place, and you never veer from it, even when it may seem like, hey, we deserve a little time off right now. Well, no, we're going to stay right through here, and we're going to keep on grinding because, like you said, Sal, come on, you can't give us 4 months for the money you're paying.
And they do. They work all year. I get it. But these 4 months,
this is the time.
Laser focused on what's happening. And I don't think there's time. If you want to spend time with your family at home, that's one thing. But taking a party bus to Cleveland just struck me as really foolish.
And now the flip side of that, Sal, if that party bus all of a sudden coalesced the team and they were really together and wow, they went out and they ran the table, Rex is a hero now because he's in tune with his team and he knows how to. He'd be getting all kinds of credit. That's how fickle it can be.
Wins and losses matter.
It's the bottom line.
Everything.
And because let's face it, with Sean, the W's have piled up here. They're doing great, but there's been penalty issues. There's been clock management issues.
Yep.
There's been a lot of things that haven't gone right.
Perfect so
but
far.
They've all been non-issues because you're winning, and it's great.
Yep.
I will say this about McDermott was great this week, and he's not he gives great answers. I love when he just talks about when he's mostly himself. That's what I love about the guy, is that he is himself. And when he was talking about the next man up thing, and he talked about how one of the things I will say that I've never heard before at any level is how he doesn't treat anybody as a starter and a backup. He says you're a football player. That was kind of a refreshing outlook. And then when players hear this, it's like, well, yeah, okay, I'm a football player. I'm a linebacker. I'm a running back. I'm not the third guy on the depth chart. I'm preparing like I'm as good as the other guy. And I guess it sounds a little silly, but it's all about confidence, feeling good, feeling respected. What do we all want at our workplace? We want to be respected.
On game day, it's a point, too, because on game day, there's 46 guys active, and they really do all play. It may be a small role, maybe on extra point, protection, where you play 3 snaps a game. But when you look at the game sheet at the end of the day, the only guy typically for Buffalo who has not played in the game is Nathan Peterman, the backup quarterback. Everybody else has played in the game, not the inactives, obviously.
He's like the backup goalie.
The 46 men
get to play, but
the 46 men that are active, 45 typically play for the Bills. So you've got to have guys contributing all the time.
And I think it was Jordan Matthews yesterday was talking about it's also a lot of teams are very segmented: offense, defense, special teams.
Yeah, this was a good point.
And Matthews was talking about how he's created a culture where we don't feel like we're 3 separate teams. We feel we're one team, and they all know what the other. I'm not sure, maybe you a little bit know more about this, but I don't know how the week progresses, but they seem to have a little bit of knowledge about what the other units are doing.
Yeah, well, the thing is, a lot of those guys are contributing on special teams, both offense and defense.
Right.
They're all together, so it is an interesting dynamic over there.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the Kelvin Benjamin trade, which came down yesterday. Now, look, we have been ripping this team and its passing game all season long, and for good reason. They're still 29th in the league. Tyrod Taylor, yes, he's got his critics. I've been one of them for sure, but I do acknowledge that his wide receiving core just isn't good enough. I mean, there's no way in the world when you trade Sammy Watkins and Anquan Bolden quits on you that you're going to be able to function at a high level with the guys he had. So Brandon Beane, as the trade deadline was rolling to a close here, recognized that, look, we're 5-2. I'm pretty sure they didn't expect to be 5-2. They won't say that. But they're in a position now, and I think he realized it. If we add one critical piece, it might be the one that can get us over the hump and get to the playoffs. And when you look at the roster, Leo, there was really only one place that was screaming for an upgrade, wide receiver, and he gets a good one in Kelvin Benjamin.
Yeah. I mean, it's just great to have a general manager that, number one, has contacts, is connected in this league.
Well, it was his former team,
yes,
so it wasn't too difficult, but I get you.
But still, coming from another place,
I get you.
That's contacts. And he's also got the guts, and he's also, he's got the Napoleon in him to make these moves. And And the Bill, and you make the good point. They're 5-2. The Bills became buyers at the trade deadline.
Yeah.
And when did we?
Who would have thought that?
You know, and I kind of liked it yesterday. It was almost around the NFL. It was almost like hockey, the hockey.
That was
deadline.
the most active trade deadline I can remember.
And it's almost coming to that. Maybe there's a philosophical shift here amongst NFL teams.
I think what teams are doing, like, they're starting to figure out how to use the salary cap.
Yeah.
It used to be there was a fear that you couldn't trade these salaries because of the. I think the way these contracts are structured now, I think it's making it a little bit easier for GMs to be able to make a deal like this.
And of course, there are hundreds of proposals that are out there that never come to fruition.
True.
So when you get that handful, though, that's pretty good, and it does change the complexion of the league. I mean, a lot of the things that happened yesterday. The Cleveland Browns notwithstanding, who can't even pick up the phone in time, but that's another story.
Truly unbelievable.
Unbelievable thing.
That is unbelievable.
It was great when it happened. It was exciting on Halloween night, reminiscent of, for us old timers, of Cornelius Bennett of 30 years ago.
30 years ago to the night.
Yeah, Halloween. And
which is considered maybe the biggest trade in Bills history.
Yeah. Of course, that was a Bills team that had a lot of parts, and they were.
Right.
That
was a Bills team that was just starting to get to the cusp. But unlike this team, there was more talent on that team.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
So, and he was like that final piece.
And Bennett was the piece, and he turned out to
be. Thurman was the final piece.
Well, absolutely, yeah.
But he was a big part
of that deal.
Hey, who knows? Maybe Kelvin Benjamin, like I said earlier, maybe he'll be the piece that pushes them to the top.
Benjamin's, he's the 24, the great product of the great 2014 wide receiver class with Sammy Watkins. Their numbers are almost identical, Sal.
Yeah,
you had him in your story. Two different guys. Sammy, obviously, just a speed merchant, stretched the field. Benjamin can get downfield as well, but he's he's a receiver in a tight end's body.
Yeah.
And I love, Brandon Beane had the best quote yesterday, I thought, was this, that even when he's covered, he's open. And he's meaning that he's at 6'4", 250, a lot of our colleagues that are into the analytics are talking about, boy, he's got really low separation percentages. I go, you don't need separation when you're that big.
Yeah.
You are separated. You're just big. You're going to catch the ball.
The key will be.
And now you made the point about Tyrod. Can he get him the ball? Will he get him the ball?
Will Tyrod throw that 50-50 ball? That's been one of the biggest knocks on Tyrod, is that he's afraid to take a chance. Yeah. Here's a guy.
Newton wasn't.
And Newton certainly wasn't. He would throw it anywhere. Yeah. Tyrod's got to understand now that this is a guy who can go up and win the ball. So you got to give him an opportunity to do that. It can't just be he's open, throw it to him. If he's not open, you got to give him a chance to make a play. That'll be a very interesting thing to watch, whether Rick Dennison can get it into his head that, look, you got to make that throw and let the guy try to make a play for us. You can't probably do that right now with Zay Jones or, even Andre Holmes, who's a veteran. But Kelvin Benjamin's a guy that you can give the opportunity to make a play.
Yeah. What's your take on Benjamin? What are you hearing about Benjamin as far as being good enough or feared enough to draw a little extra attention, get a safety to cheat a little more, whatever it might be? That might help Zay Jones. It might help Jordan Matthews. It might, Deontay Thomas, whoever else is going to be the guy that's going to maybe go deep and get the one-on-one.
Leo, he comes into this team as the number one receiver now. I mean, we've all seen Jordan Matthews as that guy. Jordan Matthews was the number 2 in Philadelphia.
But he's not one.
Good guy. He's a starter, but he's not your primary receiver. Zay Jones certainly isn't. Zay Jones shouldn't even be starting. He should be a slot guy in the passing situation. So Kelvin Benjamin comes in immediately, and he will draw attention. Obviously, they got to cover him. Maybe with 2 guys on certain plays, especially in the red zone. So just his that's why I'm talking about. People have asked me, well, can he play Thursday night? And I'm like, I don't see, if he passes the physical, which we think he will, there's no reason not to put him out there. Give him a handful of plays. You don't have to give him the whole playbook, obviously, but give him a handful of plays. Just him being on the field makes the Jets change their defense a little bit. It could be very advantageous.
What's he got to, what's he got to do?
Go run a flag.
Put a uniform on and go. When they're in the red zone, go in the get open in the end zone. We're going to throw the ball.
People don't realize a lot of the offenses in the NFL are very much the same. The roots are the same. All that changes is the terminology. So give him a couple keywords, and he should be fine. Again, now it's a rapid turnaround. If this game was Sunday, obviously he'd be playing. It is a very.
I know it's quick.
I think he just got to Buffalo late last night. We're taping on Wednesday this week. Late last night, he's probably going through all kinds of stuff today. They're not even practicing today. Today's an off day. It's a travel day.
And it'll be fun, though. If he's in the lineup, it'll be a lot of fun. It'll be a lot of reason to tune in. But I think everyone's bullish on this move. It's and I give Brandon Beane a lot of credit, and just just to making it happen. You know, and so for so many years now, you know, I know out there in Bills Nation, and I see it on the social media. Just people are just so pleasantly pleased, shocked, whatever words you want to use, just that we're finally seeing competent coaching, competent general managing, guys that are young, guys that have a vision, guys that are willing to do stuff, and making it happen. So often you just sit around, stand pat, don't do anything. And like you mentioned, probably a lot of reasons with the cap and contracts and all that. But boy, if you can get it rolling here, and
Leo,
I'm just excited about that.
They got me energized.
I know, of all people.
I mean, even I'm energized by this team. It's been fun to cover them.
Even you, Mr. Cynic of the century.
Exactly.
You're a believer, and you know. Now, before we came on here, we were talking about it. They can't go to New York tomorrow and stub their toe and be 5-3.
Absolutely.
Because there's so many teams that have been 5-3.
They have not been 6-2 since 1993.
Marone was 5-3. Dick Geronimo, Greg Williams was 5-3 once. Dick Geronimo was 5-3 once. So you want to be, if you can be that 6-2, and as everybody knows, that's their best midway point since the Super Bowl era.
93. Look, the Patriots are idle this week. This is their bye week. They're 6-2. The Bills win this game Thursday night. At the halfway point of the season, they're tied for first in the division. They'll have 6 wins already in the bank with 8 more games to figure out how to win 4. Think about that. If they win this game, they're 6-2. If they went 4-4 in the second half, that's 10 wins. That should be enough to get a playoff berth this year.
Absolutely.
So it really is a big game, and it's one of these spots, Leo, where historically the Bills, like you said, have stubbed their toe. I can go through a countless amount of games where 2 last year stick out.
Probably
to me.
Miami when they went down to Miami.
The first game was the Jets game, the home opener Thursday night.
True.
How did that happen? They're supposed to win that game easily, and then they win 4 in a row after that game. They go to Miami, a team that ultimately went to the playoffs, but at that point was floundering.
Yeah.
You go down to Miami and win the game. Well, they didn't. They lost, and their season went right downhill. A couple years ago, they go out to Oakland with playoff chances still alive, lost to a 3-12 team.
Yeah.
I think they became 3-12 that week by beating Buffalo. This is the type of stuff the Bills have done, and these are previous iterations of this team. We're hoping that this is a new era. Sean McDermott, all the things we've talked about today are going to be on display Thursday night, and it's going to be really interesting to see if they can get over the hump and win these games that we know they should win. I wouldn't say that I thought for sure they should beat Tampa or Oakland. I thought they were going to beat Tampa. Oakland, I did not think they'd win, but they got both of those games. They've already done it at home, but they've done it. Now go on the road and do it.
Well, it's almost playing with found money here, and talk about just everything lining up for them. You know, they were fortunate to play the 2017 versions versus the 2016 versions of the Raiders, the Buccaneers, the Falcons.
Right.
Those teams. We probably would have said, well, you know, just be using last year and everything, that those are losses. Those are now they took those games.
I would have thought they could beat Tampa, but I certainly the Falcons game and the Raiders game, to me, like you said, are found money. I did not expect those victories.
Yeah, Denver, now they're proven to be, you know, so that was good. That was at home.
Actually thought
but that was a tough game as well. That was a tough game. The interesting one, I mean, this second half is going to be really fun.
Yeah.
The Kansas City game is going to be outrageous.
Well, that's going to be tough.
That's a team,
that's one that I'm.
But I've watched the Chiefs have been on TV a lot, and I've been seeing them. When you got the number 3 offense and the number 30th defense,
I know.
Every game is a roller coaster. It's crazy entertaining. They are really.
The funny thing is, they've got good defensive players.
They do.
I don't know what their problem. Derek Carr torched them a week before he played Buffalo.
So maybe that comes together.
Well, real quick, we can.
But
look
that's going to be.
The Saints game will be interesting. They're better than we thought, but the game's in Buffalo. I think Buffalo should win. You've got 2 against the Patriots. That's always difficult, but that team to me feels a little vulnerable this year. They're 6-2. I think they're starting to figure it out, but there's no reason for the Bills not to be able to beat the Patriots at home. Yeah. I think they can do
2 in a span of 3 weeks. Those are monumental.
It's
a strange schedule.
2 against Miami.
And then
who knows what they are.
And then the same thing with Miami with a game against the hapless Colts. That's another win.
The Colts are terrible. That should be a win.
So and
this
the
is a
Miami
big game.
Yeah, the Miami game. You know, Miami is really puzzling. I don't know what they're about. Getting rid of Jay Ajayi on this trade as well.
Yeah.
Another move like, wow. I know they had to shake it up offensively. they lose 40-0. The Ravens.
I think he's your best player. On
I go, what do you?
Maybe
people are in that locker room going, what's going on?
Yeah,
people in Buffalo's locker room are going, hey, we just got Kelvin Benjamin.
Yeah.
They're looking at it. They're looking at a front office that's making something happen. New England's front office, they got rid of Grapple. I mean, and for a lot of reasons too. But those moves are happening, and people are going a little bit of a head scratching. Whereas in Buffalo, everything just makes sense.
Think about the Bills. Jay Ajayi, I think he had 200 yards in both games last year.
Oh,
he's out of the division now. It's a great thing for the Bills.
It's great for the Bills.
Let's answer a couple questions. There's not many today. There's a few comments, but there are a couple questions here. Gregory Paul says, Matt Milano for president, starting job intact or back to Humber? Humber has been upgraded to questionable. He was out the last, I think, 3 games with the thumb surgery. He's questionable. So is Jordan Poyer, by the way. They announced today before he went on the air. Clay obviously is out, and E.J. Gaines is again going to be out. Poyer, they're listing as questionable. I still question whether he'll be able to play, and Humber is on that list too. I think, man, Leo, why wouldn't you ride the hot hand? I mean, Matt Milano has shown he can be a ball hawk.
Yeah.
I know he's making mistakes. I'm not watching the film. He says it. The coaches have said it. He's made some nice plays, but he is making mistakes. He's a rookie. But, man, Ramon Humber, okay, he made a bunch of tackles, but there was nothing impactful in the first 4 games that he played. Yeah, he was wrapping guys up when they were coming through the line or whatever, but Matt Milano has been a nice player for them. I wouldn't upset the apple cart here. I'd let him keep playing.
Yeah, but, knowing McDermott, and I'm going to get back to what we talked about at the start, nobody's a starter. You're a player. I mean, they're both going to play.
Yeah.
Does it really matter? Do we really, they're not, well, put it there, Milano's done enough not to be just a special teamer. He's proven he's a playmaker. So, yeah, absolutely. Honestly, they'll figure out how to.
Honestly, I don't think Humber will play this week. I think they'll
figure out how to work it. They don't, they don't need to play
They don't
him.
need to rush him back and then give him the extra time.
Yeah.
All right, Justin Hausner wants to know, is KB there yet? Kelvin Benjamin, I'm pretty sure he got in last night. Has he made a statement? No, we have not heard from him. Probably won't.
Probably after the game.
Probably after the game if he's there. I'm assuming he'll be there. He says, I'm sure he won't be used a lot, but do you think we will see him on the field? Very pumped about this team and this process in capital letters. We talked about this earlier. I would, if he's there, ready to go, passes the physical, it makes no sense not to play him. Get him on the field, at least give the Jets something different to think about. They have not seen him. Well, actually, they played the Panthers, I think. Have they played him already? They're playing the same division. I'm not sure if they've seen him. I think they have. But so they know who he is, though. But they haven't seen him in Buffalo's offense. Sure, go ahead and get him out there. I hope they do that. Just a couple more here. Earl Russell was saying, smells AFC championship for his Bills. I don't think that's going to happen, but they're in the playoff hunt, Leo. There's definitely a chance they'll make the playoffs. Justin Hausner wants to know, is there a chance we'll see Clay? No, he was just announced before that he's going to be out. That injury, he had scope. He had a scope. That's not going to be a quick thing to come back from. So.
Scope is better than, ACL laying you out and all that. But it's always a
procedure.
It's a 6 to 8 week before you're 100%.
Yeah.
So you got to be patient with Clay.
So Justin is.
But when Clay, imagine that though, when Clay and Benjamin are on the field.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That'll be nice. Couple other things here. Can't wait to have them back healthy. Yes, I understand. That's true. Jeffrey Allen, Bean 2020. Not quite sure what that means. Any thoughts, Leo, on what Bean 2020 means?
Is that the president?
2020, is it 2020 vision or
president?
Is he going to be here in 2020? I'm not sure.
I think it's for president.
David Goldtree wants to ask, is the lack of sacks a concern?
No.
In talking to guys, they've played some quarterbacks who get rid of the ball pretty quickly. Carr certainly. Winston wasn't really a guy who gets rid of the ball quickly. They did not have a good pass rush, I thought, in the Tampa game. Last week was different. Derek Carr got the ball out quick. Kyle Williams even talked about it. What can we do when the ball's out in 1.8 seconds? Nothing. But they do need to start. I think their pass rush needs to be a little bit better, Leo. They need to create a little bit more havoc. I think too many quarterbacks have had the opportunity to sit there and go through a progression without being harassed. I think Carr. I think they were credited with one quarterback hit. Yeah. That needs to be a little bit better.
When you got Hughes and Shaq Lawson, you probably want a little bit more production there. But and then even from the middle guys pushing up. But you know what? They're so. I never recall a secondary that was this strong. With a bunch of guys that we don't really know.
They've had strong secondaries with guys we did know.
Yes,
These guys
we'll say
are
that.
unknown guys.
Yeah, you're right. They've had great defensive backs.
I think Trey White's pretty good. I think he's going to be a good cornerback.
I mean, this is the other thing too, and I thought about this the other day, and this goes back to poor old Rex. And I hate to always go back to poor old Rex because, and it's no surprise that I did like Rex for all his wackiness. They got nothing out of their draft class last year. Their two top picks were hurt.
I know.
This year, Sean McDermott, what does he get? Trey White.
Deion Dawkins has played.
Dawkins has played.
Yeah,
Zay Jones is not bad. He's not a bust, it appears.
Well, he's getting close to being that.
But I'm going to tell you,
he's struggling.
When you hit on Trey White, and then also got Kansas City's first-round pick.
Yeah.
What a score.
Now, of course, we could also play revisionist history. We're watching Deshaun Watson set records.
Absolutely.
The Bills could have taken him. So Trey White will go on to be a very good player, I think. But if Deshaun Watson continues on this track, the Bills, who have always needed a quarterback, had him staring right at him, staring right back at him at number 10. And didn't pull the trigger. I'm not going to get on him because I even said...
Should I dig out the columns I wrote about how the Bills should...
You did, and I was not a Deshaun Watson. I didn't think it would translate from Clemson with that offense they ran to the pros. I was totally wrong.
I saw him in college.
Yeah.
I saw him
you
against the Orange. He got my Heisman vote.
Yeah.
He was just something about him.
So Trey White,
I didn't see him just as some college guy that couldn't make it. He had something there. So
it sure would be nice to see Deshaun Watson. Now again, Tyrod Taylor though, he's played okay. I'm not going to be on him. I think he's giving the Bills what they need to give them.
Well, that's a whole other show. But he is making that, as you wrote this week, a great piece. Just really, what's happening here? Because if he does get them to the playoffs,
they can't let him go.
Absolutely,
you got to pay him next year. Let him have the team again next year.
They can't turn it over to some rookies. He undoubtedly. I mean, even maybe at this point they're thinking. I mean, they would have to go. They'd have to lose the rest of their games for him not to come back.
Yeah.
He's really playing well. He's doing a nice job, and it's
always
hard.
Him $16 million next year.
It's always hard for. I think it's always hard for, and I think McCoy touched on it. It's hard for people to give the guy credit. And I understand why almost, and sometimes it's hard for us because we have seen him for 3 years now, and we've seen his limitations. And maybe we harp too much on his limitations and not enough on the positive things he does. And that really, and number one, and we've talked about it before though, when he's got great QBR because he can run and he doesn't turn it over.
Right.
But now I'm going to tell you what, when you put a Benjamin on the team, when you get the tight ends get healthy, now it's going to be on Tyrod to have better than the 29th passing attack in the NFL.
Absolutely. Well, Michael, we'll end with this. Michael Avent wants to say, I disagree trying to make Tyrod a gunslinger. He's a very smart quarterback. I'd rather have him throw it away. Take a sack is 100% better than interceptions. And I understand that. He doesn't turn it over. He's very tough to sack. But like we just said, he needs to be able to take, I think, a few more chances. And now he's got a guy on the team when he's up and ready to go who can afford him the opportunity to take a chance. I wouldn't throw a 50-50 ball to Zay Jones. I might do it with Jordan Matthews. I'm not even sure I would do it with Charles Clay. He hasn't proven to be a great 50-50 guy, but Kelvin Benjamin is, and I just think that Tyrod needs to utilize that skill set when this guy is ready to go.
I don't think anybody would be upset if Tyrod threw a pick a game. I mean, it's not the end of the world.
You don't want to pick a game.
Oh, you're right. That's 16 for the year.
One every 2 games would be livable.
The thing is, I think he can afford to be a little more aggressive with the kind of defense that he has.
Yes,
you can put this defense on a short field. They're going to hold him to a field goal.
Yep.
You got to. There's plays to be made there. I guess what we're saying, and I do agree with what he's saying. It's always smarter to not take a sack, not take a pick. But at other times, the great quarterbacks, the ones that really get it done, do have a little bit of it's not a gunslinger mentality sometimes, but just a little bit of an aggressive. You got to be able to throw tight windows, aggressive, get the stick, do the things that make you a little bit, elevate your game a little bit more. Otherwise he will just be this
game manager,
the game manager guy. And I think they want to be better than that. I think you need to have better than that.
I think need more than a game manager. Sometimes it works if you've got a great defense and a great running game. The quarterback can be just a guy who facilitates. But I think in this case, their running game has been good. It's not been great this year. It's starting to find some mojo. Their defense has been good. It's not a great defense. They're in the 20s in some of these rankings. So they're getting a lot of big plays. That's been the key to the Bills' defense, and they're turning those into victories.
You got 17 takeaways. Wow. Yeah. And you know what? This Jets team's got 14. So they do the same thing. Yeah, they do that too. They do the same thing. So this game tomorrow, it's set up for that kind of game where, especially for the Jets. I mean, of course, the Bills now, if they do what they do and they just run it and stop the run, it'll be a repeat of the opener.
Yeah. Which would be good for Bills.
And you just control this on a night down in the Meadowlands on the road. It's all setting up for them. Now, if the Jets can come back, get some turnovers, get some big plays out of McCown, who's playing better than anyone he's getting credit for. He's doing a nice job. Again, the Bills can't stub their toe. Got to take care of business. Got to get to 6-2, and then boy, the sky's the limit.
Yep. All right, we're going to wrap it up. I hope you enjoyed the show today. Again, you can go to democratandchronicle.com and get all of our stories. You can watch a replay of this. It'll be on the Sal Speak podcast on iTunes if you want to listen to it in the car ride home. So, Leo, we're going down together. The band is back together.
We're going down
on the road Thursday night. So we're going to be trucking down to New York Thursday morning, and make sure you're up late tomorrow night to read our stories in the Democrat and Chronicle. So for Leo, Sal, have a great weekend and enjoy the Bills game tomorrow night. NFL Network, by the way, not local TV. You got to have cable to watch this game, or a streaming service, whatever you do. All right, take care. Have a great day.